Hello there. How are you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be reading some stories from r/ entitled parents. I hope you all enjoy, and if you do, please like and subscribe and comment so I stay in YouTube's good graces and so the algorithm does not abandon me. Now, let's get started, shall we? Sorry, entitled mom, dad, and younger brother. I refuse to play happy family, and no contact means no contact. I, 26 female, moved out in late December 2021, and for my emotional health, I cut off contact with my family. For context, I cut off my parents due to them turning into religious fanatics and trying to push their beliefs onto me, and the last straw was when they caused an emotional event where they tried to throw out some stuff that my late older brother left for me to always remember him by. Anime graphic tees and Polaroid photo album of the good times we both had together. And the excuse was, "That is diabolical," or "It's time to let the dead be dead." Mind you, this was their eldest son we are talking about, and they are acting as if he was the worst person on earth. He wasn't. I even cut off my younger brother, 22 male, due to him becoming verbally and emotionally abusive. The only one with who I had contact was my sister-in-law, 28 female, for the sake of my nephew, and she begged me to get help, since she saw that I looked affected. I took her advice and decided to attend therapy, and in a few sessions, I noticed how toxic my family was, and even I ignored all the red flags. Everything was going great until I got a WhatsApp notification from a group that was created. It was my parents and younger brother telling me that 5 months were enough for no contact, and that I had a lot to do to reconcile with the family and try to keep the peace. I read the message many times, and I answered back saying that, while I love them and there is no hate in my heart, I can't go back in contact with the people that damaged my emotional health for them to feel better about themselves, and that I am not willing to play happy family, and that my emotional health is much more important than anything. Before any of them could reply, I got out of the group chat and blocked their numbers. My friends, family, my mom's co-workers, and my boyfriend, 28 male, have said that I am brave for doing this, and that I should always put myself first, and not let anyone walk all over me. I guess it's good to finally feel free. Good job, OP. You did an amazing job. Keep it up. Parents decided to cancel my 14th birthday party to accommodate my spoiled younger brother. Reinstated it when I told everyone at school. I'm 20 male, and this happened when I was 14. I have a brother that's about 6 years younger than me, and he was extra coddled by my parents for having been diagnosed with high-functioning autism to get his way a lot. And by a lot, I mean nearly all the time. Anything I had, he also had to have. So that meant we had doubles of almost everything that wasn't shared items. And anything he had that I didn't, he would rub in my face any way he could. When I was 11, I begged my parents for a 3DS for my 12th birthday. I got one, but then I was told to lend it to my brother whenever he wanted it, or else I would have it taken away, which was a lot. When my aunt found out after seeing my parents forcibly take my 3DS out of my hands to give to my brother on one of their visits, she let loose on them for such a blatant favoritism. They returned my 3DS immediately, then blamed me for the situation after my aunt left. But they didn't make me give it to my brother again. Instead, my parents went out a few days later and bought another 3DS as a surprise gift for my brother. On several of mine and other people's birthdays, my brother made a huge fuss because the party wasn't all about him, even going so far as to outright state that he was upset because he wasn't getting any gifts, or getting to blow out the candles on the cake. My parents learned the hard way that they couldn't enable my brother the way they'd have liked at those parties, and they were actually kicked out of a few for trying. And because of that, other kids at the school stopped inviting him to birthday parties altogether. For me, my birthdays were some of the only days that I had to have about me, because otherwise my parents forced my life to revolve around my little brother. And the year prior to my 13th birthday, and even asked me if I'd let my brother blow out my candles for me, because he was upset and pouting. I refused that because I wanted to blow out my own candles. They called me a spoiled brat at first, till my aunt intervened and chastised them on their favoritism yet again, and stated how much she noticed my brother gets nearly everything between the two of us just because he's autistic. My parents got no support from anyone else other than my brother, who was still crying because he wasn't getting to blow out the candles. And because he didn't get his way, he tried to outright spit on my cake out of spite. But my awesome aunt thankfully blocked him before he got the chance, then scolded him till he ran to my mom in tears. My parents took a lot of heat from the other adults there, and then promised to never ask me to let my brother blow out my candles again. But they pretty much just went through the motions for the rest of the party. My aunt pretty much took over coordinating everything else from that point. The following year, a couple of weeks before my birthday, my parents sat me down and told me they were going to get me some gifts and a small cake. But my birthday party was effectively cancelled to avoid my brother having another meltdown. I told them I couldn't believe they were doing this to me, and they just seemed to shrug it off without a care. So at school over the next week, I told my friends, my teachers, and even my school counselor. All of them were appalled by my parents' lack of consideration or empathy. The vice principal even found out and consoled me. And of all of this, got back to my parents through social media. My parents ended up grounding and gaslighting me for telling so many people. But that didn't stop me from still telling everyone at school that I was grounded for just being upset my birthday party was cancelled for no good reason. I guess that made it a lot worse because several of my parents' own friends, along with parents of two other kids in the school, called them or sent them Facebook messages basically saying, "What the heck is wrong with you?" And suddenly, just like that, I was ungrounded. I didn't get an apology either. My dad just walked into my room with his arms crossed, told me my grounding was over early, and then walked out. That was it. I thought my party was still cancelled because nobody said anything about it, and my brother thought it hilarious and rubbed it in my face that I wasn't going to get to celebrate. But by the end of 2 weeks, my parents held a surprise party for me at my favorite restaurant, and then started claiming that it was their intent all along. I knew it wasn't. From what I'd seen, everyone was incredibly unhappy with them for what they did, and it showed with any interactions family members had with my parents. So they ended up doing the surprise party and tried to save what little of their reputations they had left. But I'm pretty sure they had to pay through the nose that day just to accommodate me. I got dinner with all my friends at my favorite restaurant that had a small arcade, and even got the PS4 game system I'd been jonesing for at the time. I could tell it was all pretty much planned and brought last minute, because my dad had a look about him that my aunt comically described as looking like a moth had flown out of his wallet. My brother, of course, made a huge fuss that I got a surprise party, but with so many of my friends and their parents there, my mom and dad finally put their feet down on my brother to stop his tantrum when he wanted to push my cake off the table. My brother ended up getting a timeout for the first time since he was a toddler, and my mom had to stay with him to make sure he didn't do anything crazy. And he did try several times to run to the cake or a stack of presents. Who knows what he would have done had it not been for the fact one adult was always on guard. Even my dad stood guard to keep him away. My mom ended up having to remove my brother and herself from the party entirely, and took my little bro to a McDonald's nearby so he could have fun in their play area. And I heard later that she spent at least an hour trying to get him to come down out of the place tube structure. And he only did so because he had to use the bathroom, and then tried to run right back in again. My parents never tried to cancel my birthday again while I still lived with them, though they never again tried as hard or spent as much. For the remaining 4 years I was under their roof, my birthday parties consisted of a local pizza parlor, a cake without my name even written on it, and never again anything as expensive as a new gaming system. I don't mean to sound spoiled, but I was a bit disappointed I never got a cake with my name on it again. My aunt called my parents out on that each year, and each year they claimed they forgot to get the cake decorated. I'm pretty sure the reason was that my brother always refused to eat pieces of cake that had writing of someone else's name on it at any party. And they couldn't put his name on just any cake, or it would have looked very bad for them. But the fact that I still got a day that was just about me, and not at all about my brother, was still fantastic in my book. Especially because just about everything else revolved around him. During each of my remaining birthday parties while still living at home, my brother made a fuss, and my mom took him somewhere else to calm him down. I was still required to share my PS4 with my brother, but it was still mine, and took it with me when I moved out at 18. Little bro did not like that, and had a huge fit till my parents went out and bought another PS4 for him. When I moved out, they finally had to deal with how they'd raised my brother to be so spoiled, because I wasn't there to help them with him anymore. On his recent 14th birthday, he went mental on my parents for not getting him a PS5. He is now currently grounded for I don't know how long after causing hundreds, or maybe even thousands of dollars in collateral damage during his rampage. He picked up a chair and just started destroying anything that was in front of him with it. And my parents just looked mentally checked out when I saw them last. My aunt also told me that they confided in her that they wished they could send my brother to military or boarding school in the future because they can't handle the monster they created anymore. But there's no way they can afford that. I'd be lying if I said I didn't find it ironically funny. You gotta love how what goes around comes around. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. See you next time.